clipping.
Yeah, and get reps in. I
Yeah,
think that that's a great way to do it. There are a lot of things that I would love to share, just things that I'm learning, tips, tricks. Um, but sitting down and putting it together as like a long form video is like less likely to happen when it doesn't necessarily align with like, shilling hyper, for example.
exactly. Yeah.
But like when it comes to like thought leadership and like this sort of um, I guess platform, like I would love to, just like very casually share. Like for example, I have this one system for generating designs with Claude
Yeah.
using this tool HTML to design. It's a Figma extension by these guys, Div Riots. They make some insane Figma extensions, and you can just clone UIs like one to one.
Oh,
Um,
nice. Okay.
yeah, and it's like could go over that. I think people would love to see it. I've been using the system and like these skills that I set up for like over a year. So it's like these are things that I think people would enjoy, but like I doubt that I'm going to go ahead and make this a video on my own.
It's not like worth it for your time. Honestly, like the ROI. Well, it depends on what you're trying to do, but I totally agree. Like I'm just long-winded in the things that I say.
Hmm.
And like I have lots of ideas that I want to get out there, but it takes me 3 minutes to say them often.
Hmm.
And so like when I do trial reels, I'm pushing like 2 minutes and 45 seconds, and I just have to like cut the trial reel off because I don't know if you know this, but like if it's over 3 minutes, it doesn't get distributed.
Okay.
So like I need a long form modality to like exist in. And like, yeah, like you said, like I'm not going to sit down and like edit a 30-minute YouTube video or write it for that matter.
Hmm.
Maybe.
Absolutely. Yeah, and like I love just like how casual the podcast or live stream is. I feel like you can go over anything that you want to on a given day. Like my co-founder CTO, we finally got him like a 4K webcam, so that him and I could start to share a bit about what we're doing and how we're building hyper. um, it's one of those things that I wonder how you feel about this, like kind of side tangent. You have everyone and their mom like sharing like tip like how they're skill maxing and like um, basically doing unbelievable things with Claude Code, Cowork, etc. But no one really
Yeah.
shows it. Like they'll
It's
push
all
everything
fucking
to some
crap,
like
dude.
shiny
It's all
GitHub
fucking
repo.
lies. Why?
Yeah, like some shiny GitHub repo with some just like super verbose README. And it's like, oh, use this and you're gonna just take over the world. But it's like, show me you doing that in a video, like using this in what like the skill or scripts or whatever working end to end, without you being like stuck in the loop, like guiding the LLM.
No,
It's
I think
like,
you're exactly right. But like most of the stuff that you see, I see this every day, and I'm probably more. This is probably more my algorithm than yours. But like, it's like Claude Code killed this and Claude Code killed that, and like these people, for example, Remotion. Remotion is a great example of this. Remotion doesn't do anything right now. It's like okay, it can put some captions and it can put some like headers and it, like you can like programmatically insert a video above
mhm,
your but like it doesn't really do like what the content creation people are saying it does.
yeah.
And so it's cap, it's a lie, and it's just like to get views. But there is a ton of stuff that is real. And like I'm starting to like talk about it a little bit with like I'm doing automations with like the post hog MCP, and like I'm finding that people find this very interesting. And so there's like definitely a niche there for like, okay, real builders sharing real shit that's applicable and like is fun to watch too. But it's again,
Mhm.
it's like a long-winded thing that you have
Yeah,
to.
100%. Yeah, and like even trying to distill it down into short form, it's like more more effort than it's probably worth. But at the
Yeah.
same time, maybe that's not true.
But
We'll
wait,
we'll
wait, yeah. Let me push back on that, dude. The personal brand angle. I feel like we're taking like two different angles on how we kind of market. The personal brand angle, so many opportunities come up
Mhm.
from like people just DMing me, like, do you want to do like do content for me, but also
Yeah.
like, do you want to like partner on this thing? I'm getting like crazy offers for like building custom software,
Mhm.
and it's like, okay, that's not what I'm working on, but I could, and like
Yeah.
sometime in the future, this is why I wanted to do it this way because I knew that if like something failed, like the personal brand is the safety net, but it's also like the best way to get attention on your product. And so if you like you are you're an
Mhm.
expert in like so many different things, and we should talk about hyper, so we can get your reps in on
Yeah.
hyper and get some clips for hyper out there. But like you're an expert in all these things. You have
Mhm.
like how many connections do you have in hyper?
Oh, I mean, I could get into that. We have 80 integrate like 80 bespoke
80.
integrations
Yeah.
that are much richer than just connecting to some like generic has everything MCP like Composio or Pipedream. Past that, we have like 50 built-in tools. So think Reddit scrapers, Instagram scrapers, web search, browsers, sandboxes, pretty much everything you need to give your agents access to do anything. Databases, like the list goes on. And I would say like the big thing here is you shouldn't need 40 API keys to just build an agent. You should be able to hook into one MCP that you're able to customize. It has all of your integrations, all of the built-in tools you need, and basically takes your files and context with you from Claude to Hyper to ChatGPT to Codex, and yeah, it's like a backpack for you and your agents. So like yeah, not to go too deep
Yeah.
on the integration
We can go
question.
we can go further. One thing I'm curious about is because like you're building the agent of agents, and it's all like marketing tools, and like you said, there's like you have these 80 integrations, but then there's like pre-built workflows because nobody wants to just prompt a workflow, with their integrations. That sounds like a
Mhm.
nightmare. And so I've used a couple things. I've used like a Reddit scraper, I've used like a lead list generator. And so I'm wondering, the thing that like in order for me to become a power user, I would need to I feel like I have to like OAuth into all these different platforms. And to
Mhm.
me, that's like, okay, I'm like, am I going to use you as my Instagram post scheduler? I'm going to get off Metricool and I'm going to like OAuth all of my 6 Instagram handles into this
Mhm.
account. So like the switching costs, I think, are high. And then, but then you don't bring your own API key. You're just charging tokens, right? You're charging.
So yeah, so for like via the MCP, like let's say you were to like switch all of your Instagram content, like accounts over to our Instagram integration. There's no cost with interacting with your Instagram accounts and like all of the different actions. So like posting, sending DMs, etc., via the Hyper MCP when you're using it, in let's say Claude. If you're doing it in Hyper, you're incurring the LLM cost. Um, but besides for that, it really is like the goal and what we're building with the MCP is like one gateway, one connection that you can take with you that has everything. So like in my opinion, it's worth the investment of like sort of
Yeah.
switching everything over, because um, like let's say that you have all of your Instagram connections through that one provider, but then you want to build out a Reddit scraper, Twitter scraper, all of these different things. You can have all of that just right through Hyper, and yeah, like as far as like unless it's a scraper or something like that that is actually incurring like usage, there's no charge.
Okay. I was also having this other thought when I was like thinking about your product and my product, because I am like building weird tools inside my product for myself. For example, like a carousel generator, a
I
posting
just did this,
scheduler,
yeah.
and so like there's stuff in there, but like there's a lot of tools out there that can do it. I can just like check out Claude Design now, but also I could have already just like within Claude Code dump in an image and say make a carousel for me with like my Gemini token as well.
Mhm.
So like um, there's a lot of stuff that like you can do it yourself, obviously. But here's where I'm going with this. I'm making a SaaS product. You're making a SaaS product, and then at what point? And I feel like we haven't really gotten there yet with it, like this in the AI industry. At what point are you like a middleman service provider for me, where I'm not necessarily using Hyper to market my product or the intended purpose for your product, but I'm using it to like use your unique workflow inside of my product. I'm white labeling your XYZ whatever workflow
Mhm.
inside my product, and then I'm selling it, and then you're just like I'm just paying the tax for the credits
Mhm.
on the tokens. Do you have anyone doing that? Have you thought about that as a use case? Because you're just like, so I'm very narrow and you're like very
Mhm.
broad.
Yeah, we'll continue to see this happen more and more. Um, the I guess like comparison I'll make is platforms like Composio and Pipedream help you build in this sort of gateway to countless integrations that users can connect to. You still often have to go through the OAuth process as a developer, so like as the provider, um, and that's like the first bottleneck, right? For
Yeah.
like everyone who wants to build apps that connect to users' tools. So like that's definitely
Yeah.
like the first value add,
Yeah.
and on top of that, like where we see a big differentiator and opportunity is to just like grab all the other things. So there's like the integrations, which is like super clear. But as far as like the actual built-in tools, so like, do you want to have to go set up like a sandbox integration so that agents can write code, or would you rather just hook into an MCP that has that among with everything else ready to go? It's being managed by people 24/7 rather than you as a developer having to manage that functionality. Things are always breaking, right? Like, I don't know if you've noticed this, but it's like, let's say that you vibe code like some integration with Gmail to pull all of that into a CRM on Cloud Code. It might work great for a week, and then something changes, maybe with the Gmail, Google endpoints, and it breaks. And that's just a massive, it's sort of like a type of technical debt that like you as a solo or like small team, founding team have to manage on your own. So yeah, definitely see the middleman like opportunity, and I think it will continue to become more and more important. And you see it with like Loops, for example. They just rolled out their like CLI, and it's the idea that, for example, like the worst thing is being in the flow state and then having to go sign up for a new account,
Yeah.
and go through this whole onboarding flow and like get an API key or connect to their MCP. Like you want to have your agent be able to just do this all in the CLI.
I think,
Um,
yeah, everything is like, is the whole world just going to be through CLI now? Or there's like interface people and then there's CLI people? There's UI
yeah, I
people,
think
CLI people?
so. I definitely think everything through the CLI. I mean, so Mark Benioff, did you see like the Salesforce announcement over the weekend, or I think it was last week?
No.
So basically, Salesforce is rolling out what they're calling like a 360-degree headless UI.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Basically,
I did see that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's they're exposing all functionality, all API endpoints as APIs, an MCP, and I don't know if they mentioned an SDK. And it really is that. Like you want to be able to just go from like, hey, tell your agent to do something, and then it can create the accounts in like Salesforce hasn't talked about that, like actual account creation and sort of like that first part. But yeah, I think that the
Oh, it's super
future is
forward looking though. Yeah. Like
super forward looking.
you
And
can
he
just
actually,
pipe into it.
what, say that
Sorry.
again?
No, keep going.
I
I
was
was
just
just,
going to say, I had like reposted Mark Benioff's post, and like an hour later, I got a notification that he liked it. I was like, no way. CEO of Salesforce,
hell
like hitting me on Twitter, and then he unliked it. So that was kind of,
yeah. What?
I don't know what happened there.
Trash.
Yeah.
The
But
back.
yeah, like it's an interesting time on like these topics.
Yeah, so like that is super forward looking because I think even as like recent as a year ago, everybody's been saying like all UI is going away. And we're just gonna like talk to our phones. We're gonna have all these agents in our phones. We're gonna have agents for everything. And I'm gonna have one chief of staff agent that kind of command is the command center. And I only talk to my one guy on my one
Mhm.
iMessage, and like that's my method of interaction for everything. And then it goes off and it like codes things or designs things or whatever. And like we're building the infrastructure for that. You're building the infrastructure for that, right? Like if I want to code something and I have it, my agent go into Hyper MCP and spin up a campaign, it's totally possible. And
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
there's like one type of person that will use that, but there's like a whole other archetype who like needs UI. And I just wonder, like, what do you think about this? Like, is UI going away. I just don't ever see it going away because
Yeah,
not
so I
everybody
see it
wants
just,
to
like,
capture their phone,
changing.
or capture their
Yeah,
agent.
like, I see it becoming more dynamic. So, like, for example, on Hyper, you can use our MCP to yeah, so let me think about the easiest way to explain this. So, in addition to being able to connect your ad accounts, built-in tools, and everything to platforms like Claude via the Hyper MCP, you can also create agents and manage your entire Hyper workspace via the MCP. So, for example, let's say that I'm working in Claude and something that my agent just did was great. And I want to create a new agent that does this on some sort of cadence, like every day at 9 a.m. PST. Cloud's rolling out managed agents, but like for context, a big differentiator on Hyper is like we support collaboration. So like you can share agents with your workspace. Like this doesn't exist in other places yet. And you can just go ahead and create that agent from Claude, but in Hyper. Sort of like think about it as if like Hyper becomes like for sale for agents. You know, it's
Mm,
like you can deploy
okay.
agents to Hyper and use our infra, and you can actually go view and manage them there. So like you can get complete run history, analyze all permissions, and there are definitely things that the end user needs to view. Like so,
Yeah.
I agree that the UI isn't going away. I think it's just like people will rely on it much less for certain things, for like the annoying things, like go find the API key, go like sign up for an account, etc.
Let me ask you a question. I might have asked you this when we first met, but like you have this like super broad thing that has all these integrations and all these features. And I did this video on like the 10 types of vibe coders, and one of them is the feature creep, who just like keeps adding new features. And I feel like
Hmm.
you're a bit of a feature creep. And I just wonder, from your marketing perspective, how do you how do you sell this? Because like it turns into the long tail of integrations, which I think is like what Stripe did initially to like have such success. They just like had to build all of the integrations out because like one dude in the Bank of Wyoming might need it, and therefore like that's how you get the network effects.
Yeah.
But like, do you think of it that way, or I'm just wondering like, when there's so much to do, when I come to
Hmm.
your platform as a consumer, I come to the platform and I'm like, there's so much to do. I
Hmm.
could do everything, but it's
Hmm.
like a little bit overwhelming. And I'm wondering how you think about marketing your do everything product.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great question. In the way that we approached building Hyper was first the foundation, like the general agent platform where agents can do anything. So they can code, they can connect to your tools and take actions. They have access to built-in like a built-in database, tables, sandbox. And these are the core like pillars that allow agents to do anything. And then from there you can build all of the specialized features and skill sets that make them experts at a specific vertical like marketing. It doesn't go the other way. You know what I mean? Like you can't build agents that are experts at marketing and can do everything without first building all of basically equipping them with everything they need to do anything. So
Exactly.
that's been like a huge part of our ethos. And that's why it's like as the category clicks, it feels quite validating. Like you see OpenClaw and Hermes really starting to take off. There's a whole other like side story why like that won't work at scale for like 99% of people. But that's like the first part.
Your take on that, because
Oh,
I also want to hear your take on like AI content in general and AI marketing in general, because right
mhm,
now there's like this whole rift happening, I would say, between like the tech bros and the marketing bros.
mhm,
And I think it's because like when you're a coder, it's like you have a little bit of like a god complex and you're like, I can automate everything. And then like the marketing people are like, everything except this.
yeah.
And so like tech is coming for more and more of the marketing stack. But like my position is that like there's always going to be like some sliver of status or provenance or something that like you can't quite take away, taste.
Mhm,
Um,
100%.
like
100%.
what are your thoughts on like the OpenClaw thing? First of all, is it a cost thing, or and then what do you think about like the tech versus marketing
Yeah, I
rift?
mean, I think that agents are great at the execution aspect. So let's say that I wrote a high quality blog with a lot of taste that is worth like being read. But actually deploying that to my website, maybe clipping it into like LinkedIn and like, Twitter content would take me a little bit of time. But I absolutely took like my taste and an opinionated approach to like writing it or generating that content. And then maybe like the execution and distribution, like even take away like letting AI like turn it into short form, but just like the actual posting of that. Um, I think that's like, an obvious use case. As far as like, I totally agree. Like, if everyone's just using agents to run their marketing and like, content generation, like, then what is worth reading anymore? Like, I don't want to read AI generated content. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to sit there and read a blog that's been generated by AI that's like obvious. Like, it's one thing to use it to maybe refine a few ideas, but it's still pretty easy to see when something has been, yeah, written by AI.
So what does that say for our businesses where we're both like marketing services that are like AI enablers, but also aren't like pure AI drivel?
Yeah, so I mean, on Hyper, you can launch campaigns across Meta and Google with a message. So let's say you generated the creatives, but going ahead and setting up those campaigns across platforms might take you another 30 minutes to an hour. Or if you've never done it before, like you wouldn't even know where to start. Hyper handles the execution, setting everything up, making sure it's set up correctly. And then, let's say you set it live, it will monitor and optimize everything 24/7. So it's kind of taking away like the taste and like the actual generation aspect and just, yeah, like putting that infrastructure in place. So like, it's basically managing everything for you.
I actually do want to like experiment with Hyper running ads,
Hmm.
um, because yeah, the Meta Business Manager is the worst thing of all time. It's insane that like it hasn't been updated in a decade. But do you like? Can I also? I get into analytics like pretty deep, and like, can I spin up a dashboard within Hyper for like all my shit that's going on? And like, do you have like some kind of I'm trying to think of like rechart shad cn integration that like makes it look pretty?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have something called interfaces, and this can be used for anything, from dashboards and like data visualizations to like infographics that are piping in data from like, web sources. When you connect accounts like Meta, Google Ads, etc., we actually create these managed tables for you. So all of the data from those platforms is getting pulled into Hyper in real time, and let's say you ask an agent on Hyper to create a dashboard that pulls in your Google Search Console data, your Meta Ads data, and a few other things. That dashboard gets saved as an interface, and all of the data that is associated with that dashboard actually gets piped, like continues to be connected and updated in real time. So you can access any dashboard that your agent has created in your interfaces tab on Hyper, click refresh, and everything comes back in. You can also ask your agent to like show it to you anytime.
Sick. That's awesome. That sounds super expensive because I'm doing some stuff and it's like you, that sort of uptime is, yeah, pretty expensive.
Well, yeah, like we definitely learned a lot. We're like fully approved across like, for example, like our Meta like developer app integration, and we had to go through a lot to get like the type of approval we have as well as the rate limits, like
Yeah.
the limits that we have that allow us to offer like real time data sync across like managed tables because like I don't know how familiar you are with platforms like Supermetrics, for example,
Yeah.
and like the list goes on for like your data pipeline and data warehouse. And in order for agents to run marketing end to end, they need that 360-degree context. So like that's what we have been building. Um, yeah.
Pretty sick. I got to get in there and play around with it a little bit more. There was like a specific use case that I wanted to use it for, which is scraping for leads.
Mhm.
And like, it's tough because like if I'm a user of Hyper, I'm also a Claude Code user, which means like if I'm running marketing for my company and I'm running it with Claude Code, which like everybody should be doing. Like if you're doing any type of marketing, like you should have a Claude Code instance open and you should be doing shit in the CLI. Forget about like the creative stuff that we talked about. just in terms of like automations and efficiency. But if I'm that guy, and then I'm also using Hyper to do this, why am I not kind of like, well, I guess I'm like picking and choosing the things, but like my end question is like, okay, I want to run this lead generation and I want to put it back into my own system, like we kind
Mhm.
of like talked about at the beginning. Um, you have the MCP for that, but I'm only using like a sliver of what you have to offer. So
Mhm.
like I'm very curious about like like we talked about before, like your breadth. How do you get me into your platform instead
Mhm.
of just saying, hey, I'm going to query some leads for
Mhm.
LinkedIn. I'm going to pipe it into my LinkedIn ABM strategy that I have on my own platform, and then I run
Mhm.
it myself. And I'm only using you for like 1/80th of what you could possibly do for
Yeah.
me. I'm thinking like what are you doing for users in there? Like, how do you like land and expand, I guess is the strategy.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, I think that like I'll kind of turn it back to you and ask a question, then I'll get into it. Um, every time that you want to like build out some new, feature within your own like internal setup, how do you feel at this point? Are you jaded enough where like reaching for that like next API key, setting up that new account, like you're starting to feel like you're accumulating like technical, like some degree of technical debt where like, it's like context becomes problematic. Like, I would say the real thing there and what we're excited about is just managed skills associated with integrations. Like they're built adjacent to integrations. So, for example, let's say you want to build this really high fidelity, um, like lead sourcing and outbound like agent or like workflow. And you're going to go ahead and probably look on GitHub for the best skills that are out there, that maybe people have already built, but are they adjacent to like, were they built alongside the tools that you'll use for this workflow? And also, is someone like managing that skill for you and like making sure that skill is updated? There are scripts available that
Yeah.
run that skill alongside that tool to get like the richest quality results and like the best outcome. So like you could almost think of it like that, where it's like, let's say that you were able to like, if like Claude talks a lot about this, like plugin, the concept of plugins.
Hmm.
And this is where it's like, you have skills, integrations, and built-in tools sort of bundled in one package, um, that, you can either just like attach to an agent or, give access to an agent. Um, and it's like basically everything that a role, like a full like job function would need to ship correct work end to end. And like managing that as like a use like for someone like you or me alone, like it's not possible for us to like build out tons and tons of things, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. It's like the five tran for marketing skills, I guess. Like I don't know if you're familiar with five tran, but it's like it just manages the data schema for you so that like your tables are always up to date, and when you're pinging it, it's like it doesn't break your data schema.
Mhm.
Um, I gotta hop off, but like this
Yeah.
was sick. We gotta do it again because like we can go deep on this because you got 80 integrations we could talk about.
Yeah,
uh,
and I'll kind of come next time with like the specific things that I want to clip out and things like that. But I think it was a nice like warm up wrap for
sure,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, good talking to you, buddy.
All
See
right.
you.
Likewise, Ryan.